Welcome, gentlemen, to another Let's Play. This one is interesting because it is both a phone game and sort of a pseudo VN, which might make it incredibly difficult to have an interesting Let's Play of, but I feel the story is good enough that, hey, we may as well give it a try. So, without further ado, this is Fate Grand Order. Now, this is, or rather has been out in Japan for some time, and I did play the Japanese version up until about a year and a half into its after its release. So I'm not going in blind. However, I never really knew the story. I was just playing it for the mechanics and the waifu factor. The English translation is a bit spotty at first, but it does seem to get a little bit better as the game goes on. Particularly the tutorial has a lot of really amateur mistakes, which clear up a bit. While my main account, I re-rolled a bunch to get one of the most powerful units in the game, long term, or most powerful supports units anyway, named Waver. In this playthrough, I am going to just let the gadget gods decide what I get. The good thing about this game, sort of a positive and negative with this game. The positive is that you can really make any servant work for most of the game, and there are free, there's friend point summons. There are enough units in those summons with niche uses that you can basically get by using only what would be called rare units in other gacha games. I will be getting a free SR, but it could be garbage because there are some garbage SRs in this game. Not a lot, but some. Siegfried, one of the people that you can start with, in particular, is really bad and doesn't have any uses at all. We'll see how it goes. The combat in this game is a little bit simple. It is largely stats based. So what we're doing, well, you know, the game is doing a tutorial, so feel free to read it read what the tutorial is telling us if you want to know the basic mechanics. I will probably show most battles. I will not show any grinding I have to do off screen. I'm going to attempt to, in general, keep my team at roughly the recommended level for the content. The big draw of this game is most gacha games the same. It's the hero units, but in particular the concept, at least, of this game of heroic spirits from history is really cool. I find it really cool. In our party we've got Arash, who I don't actually know his legend because I've never used him. We've got Cuculain, who is, or Cucullen, the hero of Ulster, and we've got King Arturius, or for some reason she's been localized as Altira or something like that. It's Arthur or Arturius with her Excalibur, as you just heard. Should be a decent pickup. She's an SSR, but she is available from the beginning of the game. It's very unlikely I'll get her. The SSR rate in this game is 1% per roll, which if you've played other games is pretty bad. GBF in particular, like Granblue Fantasy, has a rate of 3%, which doubles to 6% in what's called Legend Fest. But the difference is that basically, apart from a few garbage units that exist to troll, we meet Fu here. Fu is interesting. I like Fu a fair bit, but the reasons for that won't be revealed until, oh, about a year and a half into the game. The difference between this and GBF is that because you don't have like a weapon grid and elemental, and you can basically you can mix and match your units as you please, every SSR you get is going to be impactful in some way. Even double ups. So the big attacks in this I call like the limit breaks, basically, to use Final Fantasy terminology. The limit breaks are called Noble Phantasms. It's a special either attack or item, or could be like an army. It's something tied deeply in with the legend of the heroic spirit in question. There we go. This is Mashu. She'll be called Mash in a moment because the translators of this game hate us. And that's about all I have to say about that for the moment. We'll talk more about the translation later when some of the bad stuff comes up. Be prepared if you play this game for a lot of reading. It is, for better or for worse, it's basically a visual novel with gacha elements. You will either hate that or love that. It's refreshing to see a mobile phone game with an actually quite a decent story, but well, I mean, at the end of the day, when I played the Japanese version, I was skipping over the story, and I still felt the mechanics were decent enough to play, so there's that. And left liner, we meet our ostensible director, or person in charge, and we can either be Guado or Gudako, or male or female. I am going to call myself Inverse. We can change that later. And we are the bottom of the barrel, scraping the edges. I didn't have any training. We are the protagonist. It's our first day. Oh god. Yeah. Oh, it's really great when you first start a new job, when your boss is like, oh, oh, you're one of those people we hired just to fill seats. The cannon fodder, the red shirt. But hey, apparently we have a special power. Weirdly, this game came out in Japan in 2015, so it was 2 years in the future. I wonder if they localized that though. I can't remember. I'll remember as soon as we get into the first area, probably, because of reasons. They're throwing a lot of Oh, he's not the director. The director is one of my favourite characters in this game. Otherwise known as Sir Not Appearing. Well, we'll learn more about her. No reason to spoil anything. I might speed up the text speed at some point. There is a way to do that, I believe. Oh, that's nice. There's a little, there's actually some small things in here that, again, I played through this in Japanese, so it's hard to say I missed it the first time round, because the first time round I was playing in Japanese and skipping these cutscenes. But knowing what I know, there are some nice little tidbits. Why is Kohai calling me senpai? Editor's note. Senpai means sort of teacher. Upperclassman, I guess, could also work. As you can see, if you're reading along, which if you're not, if you're just listening to me rambling, I'm not sure what you're doing here. 3 people that will view this video. The English is very directly translated from Japanese, and it's a bit awkward. There are also weird line breaks and occasional spelling mistakes. I think I prefer it to, say, the 8-4 method of translation, otherwise known as just fuck my shit up fam, as they say. Sleep. I'm just gonna lie down in your lap. It's a comfortable lap. And here we meet Ms. Director. Her eyes may look golden, but they're actually blue. See, the joke is that one blew that way and one blew this way. Oh, wait. That's a spoiler. Sorry, I thought that was, there's a squirrel on your face. This is normal. When a girl reaches a certain age, funnily enough, MASH, that's what I'd like to do to you. Well, settling on your shoulder, maybe not. Can a squirrel who sees humans as rivals exist in this world? That's interesting. I wonder whether he's... See, this is where the English translation is letting me down a bit, because I can't tell whether she's talking about a specific sort of rivalry between me and him over MASH, or if it's a less specific view towards humans that this little fox might hold for various reasons. I would like to get to the gacha pull in this first episode. Hey! This guy is... Well, there's a little bit of this guy in all of us, I think. Dr. Roman. So you're the fluffy type. Mash told me a bunch about him, but I assume she was just a crazy bitch. You know how bitches are. You know how bitches be. Hmm. Okay. Man, I feel really sad for this guy. And he's spurging out about some bullshit. Huh. The inside of that coffin is like a cockpit. That doesn't sound like something that would cause you to worry. That sounds less worrying. If it was the inside of that cockpit is like a coffin, that would be the worrying thing. I wish I could trust this English translation a bit more. You're just hiding and slacking. Okay, he created that bullshit. This is actually really unhelpful. I mostly understand what it's saying because I know the plot, but as someone who just gets dumped into this seems like a lot of bullshit. Oh, okay, Atlas was involved. There's a lot of superficially deep lore involved in Fate, as in general, I guess you could call it. It doesn't really go anywhere, but it seems like there's a lot of bullshit going on in the background. Mostly, the guy who created the universe, Nasu, is a massive hack with one good idea, well, two good ideas. I quite like Tsugihime. One good idea that he really, really just coasts on. And oh shit. Emergency, emergency. It's a Resident Evil ending sequence. But MASH. MASH with the appropriate name. Anyway, that's what I meant when I said one blew this way, one blew that way. Because there was an explosion that I thought might have happened earlier. Because again, I mostly skipped through this stuff in the Japanese plot and read summaries. Let's go save MASH so I can nuzzle in her on her shoulder, hair, breasts. We are not going to get to me doing a goddamn pull this episode, which is disappointing. I'm going to push forward. I'm going to make sure we get to it. We should get the first 10 pull at least. When do we get the first? God, it really is like an hour before you get to play the game properly. Like, with your own servants, you do get some battles. Okay, 82, 2004. Okay, no, I don't actually necessarily know if they've shifted the date of this game forward. I don't think they have. I think maybe it was set 2 years in the future when it came out in Japan, but who knows. Let's look for survivors to the last minute. MASH! But I want to hold your hand. Lewd. Also, when the experimental time-traveling future-looking device is exploding. I don't think that, Oh, running away doesn't matter. There's no human survivors. Where are you gonna run to? Also, we're sealed in here. Hey! Loot! Granblue Fantasy has a fair bit of story to it, especially later on the story gets quite good. Very, very traditional Final Fantasy-like, but if anything, a bit better written than them. But even that pales in comparison to the amount of story here. I'll be back in a second. But we get our first quest. Yeah, the GBF has a little bit of story. This has like a lot of story. One of the reasons I thought it would never be translated is that it just is... Maybe it's MASH. Maybe it's MASH going foo-foo. Foo-foo while she's licking my cheek. Come on. Oh yeah! Things are looking up. I like half of this sentence. I'll let you decide which half. Oh, that's much better. Okay. Now we meet MASH in battle. Later on, there's an area called Camelot. MASH becomes a force in her own right, a very strong tank, extremely useful. I would say I wouldn't call her the best support in the game because two other supports exist that are really strong, but she does have the benefit of costing 0 weight, so she will end up on most parties because I'll show you the equipping stuff later and how weight works, but she is very useful later on after she gets strengthened through the story. At this point, she's only got 2 abilities. The first ability is basically useless. Let's confirm skill uses on. So we've got a wall of brittle snowflakes, and that's basically true. It is a wall of brittle snowflakes. It is a 10% defense increase for 3 turns for all allies at level 1, and it goes up to a 15% increase to all allies at level 10. Later on, this gets upgraded to an ability which has a damage reduction on it, which makes it a lot better, and MASH also gets access to a taunt later on. For now, she has this one ability called Wall of Fuming Chalk, which is super wrong. That's definitely not what it should be, but fuck it, let's go. Wall of Angry Chalk. Gives unit invincibility, which is pretty self-explanatory. So we're still in the tutorial, we still haven't managed to get our own units, but that should happen fairly soon, so we should sneak it into this video. Her Noble Phantasm, which is this bar here, basically whenever you use the blue card or green card, you get a meter on this this bar here, when it hits 100%, you can use a Noble Phantasm. There's more nuance than that to do with card order and the like. It doesn't really matter for the purposes of this explanation. Basically, if you start with an arts card, all the cards after it will give back more arts. If you start with a buster card, all the cards after it will give more strength, and a quick card will give more critical stars. Maybe, I'm not actually sure what starting with a quick card does. I mean, given what just happened, and there's like 3 of us still kicking around, I'm not sure we need the formality of putting me in as a researcher. Dr. Roman is great. This shone through even in the Jap release, with the little bit I could read from translations. This is really weird, a really weird thing to happen in terms of the Fate universe. But hey, let's roll with it. It gives us best Kohai, and it all's well that ends well. Plus, she's got purple on her uniform, and I fucking love purple. And she's got like a belly button window in her shirt, which is basically okay with me. And an armor skirt with a fucking panty hole for easy access. And what we need to do now is mana transfer just as quickly as possible. Just as much Yuri mana transfer as humanly possible. For those who don't know, which I suspect wouldn't be many, but Fate Stay Night was the original in this sort of universe, and it started as an adult visual novel. So there are certain conventions that fans of the series sort of make fun of these days, given that it's very much moved away from its roots as a hentai game. Even as a H game, it was more like they put the pornography in to sell, basically. The real draw was the storyline or core concept, because I have a lot of issues with Fate Stay Night's story and main character, but the concept was good enough to just hook me. Basically, hook me. I've anything you can get in the Fate universe in English, I have read or watched. Even the horrible original Fate Stay Night anime, which no one should watch. If you've gotten this far and you're confused as fuck but interested with the concept, I very much recommend watching Fate Zero. It's probably the best introduction to the Fate universe. It does spoil some things. It's a prequel to Fate Stay Night, but I don't think that Fate Stay Night, the show, is necessarily... The original one's not worth watching, and the newer one coming out sort of assumes that you know what's going on anyway, so best to start with Fate Zero. It's also, frankly, the best piece of media to do with the series. If anything's going to get you hooked, it's going to be that. If not, hey, stick around. You're in for a bit of a ride. Things will assuredly start making more sense later on. if they don't thus far. I mean, it's pretty simple. You summon heroic spirits. In this case, you summon it through a link with this place called Chaldea, which has a device that sees into the future. And I guess I don't necessarily know exactly what the initial ray shifting was for. I guess it must have always been a time travel device to try and save mankind's future. And through the power of that sort of time traveling device and its link to I don't want to get into what it must be linked to be able to summon heroic spirits. Basically, it's linked to the planet in such a way that you pull forth heroes and villains from history. $31. We can get there. It's going to be a bit of a long episode, but I think it's important that we get the first gacha pull. Fuyuki is... you know what, it's not important to talk about that. And hey, it's Olga. I lied, her eyes weren't blue. They are in fact gold. She survived. And she's great, I love her. Like, I'm not a huge fan of the sort of tsundere archetype, but in particular between the white hair, the deceptively large breasts, and other aspects of her personality, she's one of my favourite characters in this game. These early tutorial battles, in fact, this game isn't really challenging until Camelot. Before that, it's sort of easy. Initially, it was a lot harder on the Japanese release, but the English release has a bunch of sort of quality of life changes, and it's a lot easier to get EXP, and you can basically, when you level, you get your AP restored, which is the resource you use to go into missions. In the JP release, it wouldn't overflow your maximum AP, so you'd often waste it, whereas now you can just overflow as much as you want, meaning at the beginning of the game you can take the time to level up EXP, level up your servants rather, without having to worry too much about running out of AP before you get to the second zone, which has also been nerfed. The enemies in the second zone are a lot weaker than they used to be at the Japanese release. It's fine. I think that the story, especially the story and characters in the second area especially, and some of the stuff that happens in the first area carry the game. Just don't go into this game expecting your regular gacha fare. I held her hand. Apparently that was enough. Be careful or I'll hold your hand and turn you into a servant. See, that line as well in particular was a little bit awkward. Like, there's worse stuff than lines being awkward, but I think all it would have taken is one editor to have gone through this and fixed up a bunch of the mistakes. It's a bit disappointing that they didn't do it, but there is a lot of text here, and they probably don't expect the game to do as well in the Western world as it did in Japan, where it's, I think it's the second highest grossing. I mean, there's a bit of a gap because the biggest is Grand Blue Fantasy, and Grand Blue Fantasy Oh, okay. That's interesting. So yeah, it sent people back sort of in soul form, I guess, and substantiated a body in the past to carry out missions with their servants. After all, there's not a lot of reason to risk the master's body in the past when all you need is the link to their mana. I'm not going to start using terms like magic circuits and all like. I don't think it's necessary. The game will do it enough. We'll explain it as we get to them in game. Sure, go ahead and do it. It's hard to be a employee of an organization when you have a direct master within that organization and you've also got a regular boss. And poor Olga is distraught over Lev. Not being there. That's interesting they said survived there. I think that 20 survivors... Yeah, okay. Critical condition. So, when he says survived, I think he just means up and about, able to run around, because the 47 people that were inside the coffins didn't actually die, although they're in a super unhappy place right now. Certainly not fit for duty. Oh, what? Oh, okay. Yep. Cryopreservation without prior consent is a crime. Huh. And see, there's stuff about Olga that's, well, she puts it that way, but... yeah. She does care. God, this video is going so much longer than I hoped it would. Videos in this series should be about half an hour long. This one's going to run long because I want to get to my first role. The first role, you can only get up to SRs. You can't get any SSRs, but you're guaranteed at least one SR. And honestly, one SR, unless it's a certain saber that I really hope we don't get, can carry you through most of the early content. Again, the banter in this game is quite good. Not necessarily right now. The story gets a lot better later. I think that the story early is still good. It's just that later it gets better. Even Chapter 2 and Chapter 3, which are currently released, the story is a lot better. Well, I guess Chapter 1 and Chapter 2. I think this might still be considered the prologue. She comes up with a lot of excuses, I think. She is genuinely a horribly insecure person that doesn't give a shit about other people. But I think that's endearing in her rather than a turn off. Really deceptively large breasts as well. I'm not saying it's related, me finding it not a turn-off and the deceptively large breasts. I'm just saying that, you know, I'm just saying it's a thing that exists. So, St. Quartz Summon. Let's see who we get. There are some 3 stars that I would love. There are some 4 stars that I would love. There are some craft essences which I would definitely not give a shit about ever, like that one. The servant summon that's guaranteed should come at the end. Rider, that's going to be... oh god. Child Alexander, who is terrible until he gets his 3rd skill, so I'm not looking forward to having to use him as my rider if I don't get another rider. Dragon Meridian isn't a particularly good craft essence. We'll get a proper 10 roll after this as well, which should hopefully fill out any bad gaps. Wow, false attendance ridings. I just really would love to get some good craft essences here. Even just one 4-star craft essence. Come on, Q-Dog. Q-Dog, give me Q-Dog. Oh man, Romulus. No! Romulus is fine, but again, he doesn't have his 3rd fucking skill, so he's not great. Oh man. Okay, let's keep the ball rolling. And a saber? Giles de Ray. Oh man. I know I'm saying oh man a lot, like these are all garbage, but they're not the best. Like, you can get... there's free rolls where I'll be able to get better 3 stars at some point. Crimson Black Keys. The Black Keys are a meme because it's all your quartz ever gets you. Please at least give me a good SR. Hey! Actually, Verdant Sound of Destruction, that's not a bad one. That should be Buster up 15%, which isn't awful, and here we go. Give me... not Elizabeth, no. Actually, Elizabeth will be fine. Oh, okay, we get Archer. Emiya. Massive spoiler for the... well, it doesn't matter. Okay, Emiya is... he'll be fine. We'll be able to roll with him. Unfortunately, he's not that strong for the moment. He eventually, in about a year or so, becomes one of the strongest 4 stars in the game because he keeps getting buffed. At this current state, he's not that great, but hey, he's got an evade. He's got clairvoyance, which isn't great. It's fine. We can roll with him. He's strong enough. You don't need strong units necessarily to get through the story. It's pretty easy. By the time we need strong units, he'll be stronger anyway. It's okay. Well, that's our first roll. We did get a craft essence. Unfortunately, if we look at this guy, we should see that our strongest unit only has 1 Buster card, which means that a 15% Buster up is not particularly useful. Hopefully, no, he's not. He's 2 Buster. We're probably going to have to use Romulus, I think. Well, we'll see, because we do get another roll. But that's for the next episode, guys. I'll see you on the other side. We'll come back on the same screen.